That's the Dub Siren.
Hi, welcome back to part 2 of building a Dub Siren. I'm Brenna Kennedy Moore. In part 1 of this series, we looked at the history of the Dub Siren emerging from Jamaican sound systems, and listened to how different oscillator circuits shaped the sound of the instrument. Since then, I've built 3 versions of the instrument, 2 on breadboards and 1 as a custom printed circuit board. Each design led to different trade-offs in sound, layout, and how it feels to use. Along the way, with support from the Voxel Lab and the Morningside Academy for Design, and with guidance from my advisor Philip Tan and guest speaker Wayne Marshall, we also ran 2 workshops where participants built and played their own Dub Sirens. In this video, I'll demo how these versions sound and walk through the design decisions behind each one. I'll show the schematics I used, explain the changes I made, and talk about how those choices affect playability. All of this is part of an open source project. The PCB files, schematics, parts list, and build instructions will be linked in a GitHub below in the description if you would like to build or adapt your own.
Eventually, there are all these ways that people are trying to produce it, and then people start to produce boxes like this. This is the NJD-SE1. This box from the 1970s, is that when it was first prototyped? Which then becomes especially standard in the UK reggae scene, which, if you know about the history of rave music in the UK, is at the heart of what becomes the rave scene. And then all this rave music that kind of builds on that, from hardcore techno to jungle to drum and bass and garage and two-step and dubstep and grime, are all deeply imprinted by that Jamaican reggae aesthetic.
For the first version, I made a breadboard clone of an NJD-style Dub Siren schematic that I found online, and added an enclosure and a mute button. I'm using the NJD here for a practical reason. It was one of the only complete Dub Siren schematics I could find. The sound of the Dub Siren existed much earlier in Jamaica, but earlier designs haven't been publicly documented in the same way. This gave me a concrete, reproducible starting point. At a high level, the circuit is built around 2 oscillators. One runs slowly and controls the sweep rate, and the other runs at audio frequency and generates the tone. The NJD version is controlled using 3 rotary switches: LFO rate, mode, and pitch. The LFO rate and pitch switches use resistor banks to set preset ranges in the 2 oscillator circuits. Each click jumps to a specific setting rather than smoothly changing the sound. The mode switch controls how the siren behaves. 2 settings produce sweep-based sounds. One produces a single beeping tone, and another alternates between 2 tones. What this design does well is consistency. The presets make it very predictable. You always know exactly what sound you're going to get. But after spending time playing it, the same preset-based control started to feel limiting. There isn't much room to shape the sound continuously as you play. This is what motivated the next version, keeping the basic behavior of the circuit but making the controls more flexible.
Just noting again, that there are all these techniques that were developed for dub, to make the listening experience exciting, and that really again comes out of this symbiosis between the studios and the sound systems. We're here to do experiments, and that's what they were doing.
They were all at the cutting edge of music technology.
Yeah, They had to build things that didn't exist, right? Yeah. Because they wanted them to be in existence.
For the second version, I modified the circuit based on what felt limiting in the NJD clone. The biggest change was moving away from preset-only controls. I redesigned the circuit to use 4 continuous controls for pitch and LFO rate, so the sound could change smoothly instead of jumping between fixed settings. I also adjusted the control layout and added a manual versus automatic switch. This version is less predictable than the NJD clone, but it's more flexible. You can shape the sound as you play rather than committing to a preset.
Yes,
I've built things before, but I've never had anything manufactured.
Yeah. All right, exciting. We have the first PCBs. Well, it's 30 boards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they only came in, it was like 30 or 50, so I chose 30s.
Yeah, 30 makes sense. Oh, that
Wow.
looks good.
There you go.
Yep, thank you. Oh, that looks great.
This was the transistor era, and now we're doing something that's going to seem like retro, throwback, vintage, right? Because now, if you want to do a Dub Siren, you just download the sample from YouTube, right? Yeah, you can download the world, and then what are you going to do with it? Like, what's your context?
The final step was to create a version that could be built by anyone in just a couple of hours. To do that, I turned the design into a printed circuit board. The PCB keeps the core behavior of the earlier custom build, but packages it in a way that's much easier to assemble, more durable, and consistent from build to build. The board uses through-hole components and a layout that's relatively easy to solder and test. This is the version we used in the workshops, and everyone was able to leave with a working instrument. Everything shown in this video is open source, so if you'd like to build or adapt a Dub Siren yourself, all of the schematics, PCB files, build guides, and additional resources will be linked on GitHub in the description below. Thank you to the Voxel Lab, the Morningside Academy for Design, Philip Tan, Wayne Marshall, and everyone who came to our workshops. Thank you so much for watching and following along with the series.